What's up, Team NBL? It's Music by Lucas.
And Lauren C. Ray, and we are here in Croatia.
If you want to know what we're up to while we're traveling, you can check out this week's vlog on Lauren's IGTV. And if you're watching this live with us, we'll be giving away a secret prize to one of you at the end of this premiere.
And after the premiere, we're having our weekly Discord after party with Jordan J from Spinner Records and Hexagon. So for this week's video, we were kind of inspired by my Instagram post yesterday. I posted something about like, what advice would you give your younger self? Yeah. And it got us thinking about kind of what advice we would give our younger selves, and also as it pertains to Team NBL and Lucas's like music career and stuff like that. We thought we'd share some of the things that we kind of were like talking about yesterday with you guys, so that you know you can learn from some of these tips.
Because there's a lot of things that I wish that I would have told myself back when I was first starting out in production. So
or in your music career in general, or in general. I think these are just helpful tips in general, so I
hopefully they help you if
find it helpful.
Whether you're just starting or whether you're you've been going at it for a while. Number one, start on social media sooner. I didn't start on social media for a long time. Lauren knows, because she was pushing me, telling me like you need to get started on your socials. But I think it was because
he was one of those guys that didn't have social media, and this was kind of also before businesses were using social media, and definitely before the word influencer was tossed around. Yeah. So it was just like people having personal accounts like creep on each other, like social media's beginnings. Yeah,
and I think I felt like I didn't really want to start at zero, like, and you have to. Everyone does, so I shouldn't have necessarily felt like that, because everyone, no matter whose account, is all starting at the same place.
The sooner you start your social media, the sooner you start building your following. And things are going to happen all the time. So you might say, oh, well, it's oversaturated. There's so many accounts. Honestly, we said the same thing about 3 years ago. So it's always building. So you might as well jump on the train and build too.
Right.
Number two, don't feel pressured to self-release music.
So when I was first starting out, I was self-releasing music because it wasn't getting signed. And so I felt like if I didn't
you needed to have like a track out there.
I felt like I needed to have music out there. Otherwise, I wasn't like a real musician. But the truth is that when I look back at those tracks, they just really weren't as good as the stuff that I had that did get signed.
And that's why they weren't getting signed.
Yeah, that's why they weren't getting signed, because they just weren't as good. So I wish I could tell myself that, the thing is, there's a lot of...
feel like the pressure to do it. You know what I mean? If it works for you and you have like your own label, or you've had successful self-releases in the past, but you're also getting signed to labels, your music obviously is good enough.
Right.
We're not saying don't self-release. We're saying don't feel pressured that has to be your first step is to self-release.
Because usually there's a reason why you're not getting signed. Either it's the quality of the music, the label you're sending to, the email you're using to send to the label. There's some kind of variable, and if you can figure that out and fix it, like on the music school, for example, that we have, then you can more likely get signed. Number three, don't worry about the votes. So when I was starting also in music, I would upload a lot of tracks to spin in Talent Pool, and I would spend probably more hours than I did making the track on trying to get people to vote for the track.
Yes.
But the funny thing was, the track that I had that actually ended up getting signed by Spinnin' never got any votes, because they emailed me the next morning before it was even on the chart. And so I realized, spend more time, on the music and on being persistent. If you keep putting tracks out there, eventually one of them will get noticed.
Rather than you worrying and spending time on votes, worry and spend time on just improving your tracks and getting them out there. Number four, make content that you enjoy putting out and not just what's trendy. So when we first were starting out, we're like, oh my gosh, you have to get views, you have to get a huge following, you have to get all these things. So we were looking at what other people were doing in order to get that. But the thing was that it didn't really match with who we are and what our branding was. It was kind of like off base. But we thought, well, that's what you have to do. And you might have that thought as well, like, oh, I have to post a crazy selfie of me on a skyscraper in order to get a bunch of likes.
Yeah, or whatever the current trend is.
Right, and even if you do that, maybe you get a lot of followers, maybe you don't. But at the end of the day, it's way more fun and just way better to put out content that relates to you, because you're going to get tired of having to one-up and to follow the trends and stuff. It's going to be way better if you just are true to yourself, and the following will come. And the best part is you've built a following knowing who you really are and not who you were trying to be.
Number five, learn stereo imaging. So when I was first starting with production, I didn't really know much about like which tracks should be more stereo, which tracks should be more in the center. And this led to a lot of issues with EQing, and I realized once I figured out stereo imaging, that was one of the biggest things that helped me get my music to that point where it got signed, because finally everything had more space in the mix and the track sounded more full. Number six, don't overdo it with EQing. So I also had a problem when I was starting with production where when I first learned a lot about EQ, I thought there was some kind of like secret amount you're supposed to take off the low end on your basses and secret amount. Like instead of just making sure it sounded good, I was trying to like figure out, like tiny little frequency adjustments. And what ended up happening a lot of times when I overdid the EQ is the track would just end up sounding worse in the end. So I think less is more. Start with doing less EQing, and in the final mixing phase, if something needs a little boost or a little bit less, you can adjust it later. But if you do too much in the beginning, it can be hard to come back from that. Number 7, get on Splice. I didn't really know what Splice was.
That's so true.
Yeah.
So didn't you do tracks without vocals for a while, or how did you exactly do it?
A lot of times I would use the Nexus EDM Voices pack, but I got tired of those vocals.
Even before that, though, you did have real vocalists.
Yeah.
And you did record
I would try to
them.
collaborate with real vocalists,
Yeah,
and that was
was
always a whole thing.
Yeah.
The contracts and bad recordings and bad vocal processing and all kinds of things.
We have a video on this if you want
on my
to
old
hear
tracks.
our whole story about
Yeah,
this.
but I also was buying a lot of packs, like full sample packs, and then realizing I only liked like one of the samples.
Yeah.
So the moment I figured out what Splice was and I could like check individual sounds, it changed a lot for me.
Number 8, create a Spotify playlist.
So I think it's the same thing with my socials where I didn't want to start from zero, and it was like Spotify's a whole nother thing that I got to do if I want to start a playlist and what's it going to be about. But you really just want to start something, like just start the playlist and keep up with it. Like make sure you update it every week, all that kind of stuff, because you never know what can happen. Like I eventually did start my Future Trance playlist, and it's doing well now.
Yeah, and make it fun for yourself. Like, you guys are into music. You love listening to tracks. You love this whole entire industry. Like, it should be a fun thing for you to do, not a chore. So make it fun for yourself. Make the playlist something you'll really like coming back to every single week.
It doesn't need to be like your favorites. It could be something themed, like mine's Future Trance. It could be something you like, and then you'll enjoy putting it up every single week.
Number 9, create a press kit and logo.
Yeah, we did a video about this, about creating a press kit. And of course, it's really good to have a logo. The main thing is it's not about having a big following. It's just really about looking like you got it together, like you're professional, like everything, because then when a label looks you up after hearing your music, they go, this person seems cool.
It's good to have that, but I also think it's really nice to just exercise creating one and like knowing what a logo looks like, because you're going to change it a lot, which is cool if you start when you're smaller, because then if you change it a lot, no one's going to remember the first few times, but you're going to learn so much in the process of creating it. And that's why I think there's never a right time to start it. Just start doing it. Number 10, schedule your social posts in advance.
Lauren, you're a pro at this one.
Yeah, this is like totally my thing. It's the only way I can function. If you guys follow me on Instagram, you know I do really extensive Instagram stories, and I don't just whip them out together in the moment. No way. It already takes like 30 minutes to an hour to do those anyways, and I already have them pre-planned. So it's really important for you guys to do this so you're not just sitting there whipping out content that's not the greatest. You can plan it all together, and that'll help you feel so much better in the time, because a lot of people don't post. Like Lucas will do one-on-one Skypes, and this is like the #1 thing they talk about, which is that they don't know what to post, and they don't want to start their socials or like keep up with their socials because of that reason. But if you schedule things in advance,
and like a week in advance, for example, because it's like, imagine you figure out what you're finally going to post today. Well, then tomorrow rolls around. What are you going to post tomorrow? It's the same stress. So if you like pick a day each week to schedule out like the next week of posts, it'll be so much easier, and you'll wake up every day going, oh, I know what I'm going to post today.
Yeah, and you can also schedule what content you're going to shoot or what content you need for your posts. Like literally every aspect of social media you can pre-schedule and execute it, and it'll be a lot easier that way.
Number 11, create a DJ promo mailing list. So I didn't know this when I was first starting, but you can easily find DJ's promo mailing list just by Googling it. Like most of these DJs have posted it on Twitter or on some social media, and when you Google it, it'll pop up that post, and you can find their emails, or they have it listed on their website, like Don Diablo has his, So you can just make a mailing list and then send out your tracks that are coming out to those DJs.
Right.
Number 12, pay attention to 1001tracklist.com. At first I didn't know what it was, but if you go to 1001 Tracklist, you can find all of the playlists that the DJs are playing on the radio shows or when they play Tomorrowland or Ultra, and that's how you find out if DJs are supporting other artists. And you can also search labels on there and find out if these labels are getting their releases supported. So it helps you find good labels that get supports, and it also helps you find all the radio shows, other artists to collab with from other labels. It's super helpful.
Yeah, knowing what kind of sound is popular. Not that you have to follow that trend, but it's really good just to know that information. Also, know what the good labels are so you know who to send your tracks to get signed. Number 13, organize better. With the business, A lot of things were disorganized just because we didn't know what we wanted to do, where we wanted to do it. Like he was trying to figure out how to have a music career, et cetera, et cetera. And it was really difficult to be able to accomplish so much in one day. But if you guys really, and I know you struggle with this because you say it, you guys really want to be able to squeeze out as much time as possible out of your day. Like if you have school, if you have a job, if you want to do music, the best way to do that is to be organized, get organized. And it's a work in progress. You're always going to be reorganizing because new things are going to pop up in your life. But like right now you might be wanting to fight it. Like, I just really don't want to do it. It seems like a lot of effort, but oh my gosh, even if you spend the effort to organize your life, it's so much less effort in the long run. You'll be able to accomplish more, you'll be able to get more done, and you're going to feel better and better about your career. 14, don't try to do everything at once. You're gonna feel anxious about your career and all the things and all the steps that you still haven't taken yet, and you see somebody up here and you wanna be up there instantly, so you wanna try to do everything all at once to be able to get to there. But what you need to constantly remind yourself, and I suffer from this as well, is that step at a time. And each time you move a step, it was great that you focused on that one step and not all the others ahead of time, because otherwise you're just gonna, get depressed or get down and think, well, I never can make it there because I'm so far away from it. But if you focus on the now and the step and the goal that you're working on now, once you accomplish that, which it'll happen a lot quicker if you're just focusing on one thing, you're gonna feel better about all the steps you've taken, and you're gonna be more happy to continue to pursue your career.
Number 15, don't be afraid to take a break every once in a while. I haven't always been the best at taking a break or even like getting up because of the fact that I'm always wanting to work and get more done and get closer, to finishing my to-do list. But if you take a break, and it's kind of like when you come back to the studio with fresh ears after a while and you hear the mix better. When you take a break and you come back to the work, you have a clearer head and you're able to see more stuff, and maybe you realize, that you should do things like this and it will save you time, and it's like you also feel way better, and so it's just like a better way to do things.
And breaks are different for different people. Like Lucas likes to take breaks throughout his day. Like every once in a while he'll get up, maybe grab another coffee or a tea or something like that, look out the window, think. Like he takes breaks during the day. For me, I don't really like breaks during the day. What I like to do is grind for days in a row and then take either a full day or a half day or just my nights off. Like I like chunks of time, and I like to kind of work all in a row and not break it up. So breaks work different for different people. So don't feel bad that your break is different from somebody else, because whatever works for you is best for you.
Number 16, use Gmail schedule send so you can send your emails when labels are open for business.
Yes, he used to just try to remember to send his email at a certain time, and then he's like, why don't I just schedule these emails? Because you would forget, or it would be like totally a bad time, especially if you live in a different time zone.
So we were living in LA, and it was like when we would send stuff during the day, they were already off work.
Yeah, they were like sleeping.
So always make sure that you know like where the company or person is located, and you send when you think they're actually going to be in the office. Don't send on a Sunday. Don't send on a Friday right when they're ready to leave the office.
Yeah, and schedule it. That way you don't forget.
That way you don't forget. Number 17, don't just wait for labels to reply about your track, keep producing. So this happened a lot where I was like so hung up on a track, like I really loved a particular track, and so I would just kind of like be waiting for the label to respond.
Can't move forward until I hear back.
Yeah.
You might be waiting a while.
Yeah, and the trick is like if you keep producing more and more music, then you can have, you're not even worried about the track you sent because you have another one in the works.
Oh my gosh, it's so much better this way. Like I would go on audition and get like a callback where I was put on hold. I was almost gonna get the job. Basically it means like it's up against you and one other person, and you could think about that hold forever. But if you just continue on with your life and you go on to other auditions and forget about it, I mean, it is so much better on your stress levels and your life in general.
Yeah, and then it's kind of cool when they email you and say like if you do get signed, you're like, oh yeah, that track, awesome.
Number 18, don't be such a perfectionist. That's easy for me to say, and it's harder to do. I understand. I am totally one to be all about perfection, but when you let go of that a little bit and you allow maybe some mistakes or failures, as we view non-perfections as, what it does is it opens your life to being more relaxed, being less worried about things, and you learn from your mistakes, and everybody makes them, so being perfect is overrated, I think.
Yeah, like with your music, there's always something you can improve. But if you just sit there for months, you're not producing other tracks, and you're not, you're not learning from your mistakes, because if you put something out there, like let's say you send it to a label and the label gives you some feedback, like you should work on this, this, and this.
Yeah.
Now you have that feedback, you can work on those mistakes, and you can either resend them that track or it'll help you with tracks you do in the future. So you gotta put yourself out there.
Yeah, and it's not about sending a half-done track.
No,
we're talking about a full track that maybe you have doubts about because of who knows what reason. That kind of perfectionism usually makes people have a standstill. They don't move forward in their career because they're too afraid to put themselves out there. We're talking about that kind of perfectionist.
Yeah.
And that's the kind where you have to be willing to learn from your mistakes. 19. When things seem bad, there's something great just around the corner. Especially if you're working really hard at something. If you're grinding and you're putting in so much effort and you're working really hard at something, if things aren't coming your way, they will eventually because you're working so hard at it. It just happens to us all the time.
Yes, lots of times I'll be feeling like I haven't got this done or that done, or I didn't like the way something turned out, and then some great news will come out and I'll just have to remind myself just to try to take a step back and relax a little bit and not be so worried. It kind of goes back to the perfectionist one.
It's just like a mental process, a thought. You know, if you're feeling really down, the best thing you can do is say, something great's just around the corner. If I'm feeling low and things are bad, something great is just around the corner. Even if you don't truly believe it, start to believe it, because that kind of mentality and that positivity, it radiates and the results will show if you have that kind of thought process.
Number 20, listen to all of Lauren's advice.
I mean, it's true, but really what it means is find a team member in your life that you trust 100% to help bounce your ideas off of and help, you know, kind of look over your things, because it's really hard to go at this alone. I'm sure if some of you guys are just going at it alone, you realize that it's hard.
Yeah, because basically all of these things that are on this list are things that Lauren told me at one point and I probably didn't listen.
Well, it's easy for somebody else to kind of see something in you or see something about your life than you yourself. Like, that's kind of tricky. It's like that with branding, when people are like, well, what's your brand? Like, who are you? And you're like, I don't know. Someone tell me quick. And not everybody who gives you advice is going to give you good advice. What we're saying is find a good team member, a good companion, a good partner in crime, to be able to just have a listening ear, because they might be able to see, you know, solutions to your problems if you're telling them about your problems. You know what I mean? Like, it's a tricky one, and you gotta decipher what's good advice and what's bad advice and stuff like that. But if you do find somebody who you trust 100%, I think it just makes, you know, pursuing a career this tough a lot easier.
So those are just 20 of the things that I wish I knew when I was a growing producer. I'm sure there's more. But if there's anything that you wish that you would have known, or any other kind of tips and advice that you have, be sure to comment below.
Comment that below.
And now it's time for the giveaway. So if you're here for the premiere, I'm going to ask a question. Well, you can ask the question.
Okay, I guess I will.
And if you answer it first in the chat, you win the secret prize.
Okay, so fingers over the keyboard, you guys. Are you ready for the question? Lukas has a track coming out next week on Tiesto's After Hours label. Who is the artist he collabed with? And if you want to be a part of our online music school, work one-on-one with Music by Lukas and all the workshops and classes you see so much about with the amazing artists that we have, and also some record label opportunities, teammbl.com/join.
And also our after party is happening right now.
Right now,
Jay
Jay
on Discord. He's from Spin Records and Hexagon. He's ready to answer your questions.
Lukas is going to be dropping the link in the chat, I'm sure, and maybe it's in the description. But anyways, like and subscribe too.
Yeah, don't forget to hit the bell button. And we'll see you next week.
Yep.
All right, bye.